Looking for a cross? I'll tell you where I found mine. The Armenian Church has 4 different feasts dedicated to the Holy Cross. At the end of October, there's one called Kyudchach, or the Discovery of the Holy Cross. It's a story that comes to us from the early centuries in the Roman Empire when the queen, the mother of Constantine the Great, discovered the Holy Cross of Jesus by going up to Golgotha, and there were 3 crosses there. Now, the history of that is beautiful, but that history has to apply to our life today. Because why discover? Why find a cross? Let me tell you what happened in my life, how I found my cross, and an invitation for you to find your cross. This story goes back not so far as the early centuries, but to the last century. 1990 was the year. And I was serving in a church in Cupertino when an Indian Orthodox community approached me and said, "May we use your church for services?" Now, you may not know, but the Indian Orthodox Church is one of the churches that is in communion with the Armenian Church. Along with the Coptics and the Ethiopians, we are in full communion. So I asked the primate at that time, and he said, "Of course, open your doors to them." So they came in Sunday after Sunday doing their Holy Divine Liturgy, Sur Badarak, after ours. And then they finally constructed their church. It was about a year later, they invited me to the opening and the consecration of their church. Now, I went to this consecration service, beautiful church, and they had invited their Catholicos. And so I walk into the church, and it's packed from one side to the other with people, worshipers. And so I stood in the back, but when they saw me, they invited me to go and stand next to the Catholicos. So they called me up, and I went, stood next to him, of course, trembling, like, there's only a few His Holinesses in the world. I got next to him, and they introduced me. And then something wild happened. He turned to his people and said, "This is the Armenian priest." He says, "I want you to know what the Armenian Church is." And right then, in front of everybody, he took off his Catholicos ring, and he gave it to me. He says, "Would you read what's inside the ring?" I looked at it. It's in Armenian letters. It said it was a gift from His Holiness Vazgen I, the incredible Catholicos of all Armenians at that time. I read it almost with tears in my eyes, but I didn't understand. So he took the ring, put it on his finger. He says, "My brother in Christ, Catholicos Vazgen, gave me this, and I want you to know," turning to his Indian audience, and he said, "that these Armenians are people that we should know about. Because in India, we are respected by the Maharajas, by all the upper class. We have never known Christianity with the cross. These Armenians have never known Christianity without the cross." And he said, "We have a lot to learn from them." At that moment, I understood, and I found my cross. And I understood what we Armenians in the Armenian Church have to do. We have to speak the message of the cross. Because Jesus said, if anyone's going to follow me, pick up your cross. Don't be scared of it. And that cross is one of difficulty, is one of persecution sometimes. It's sometimes betrayal. But don't be scared of it. Each of us in our lives has a cross. It may be financial problems. It may be health issues. It may be relationships gone sour. Whatever those crosses are, instead of putting them to the side, instead of forgetting about them, pick them up. Pick them up and conquer the cross, because Jesus Christ gave us this formula. He says, in this world you will have difficulties, but courage, the victory is mine. I have overcome this world, and we can do it too, because we're the followers of Christ. It was only a few years later that the Indian Orthodox Church bestowed this to me. It's a porurar, which we use as a vestment in our church and in their church. Every time I wear it at the Holy Divine Liturgy, I am reminded of the Holy Cross. I invite you to look around you, find your cross, don't be scared of it, and go out and conquer it. God bless.